right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Dr. Brett Lane, it's great to connect with you. SEO outsourcing. Dr. Digital is the name you go by, which I love. You're all about improving traffic and revenue. And so I'm looking forward into diving deep and talking about everything that you're talking about, which is helping businesses increase revenue through digital marketing, SEO, and artificial intelligence. Before we jump in, Brett, I'm a business coach, and I work with people all over the globe who are successful and stuck, and I get them unstuck. And so I believe people learn through story. I love having this podcast because I get to have guests like you on to aid in my mission of getting people unstuck. And so where's a recent stuck point that you've had in your business, and how did you get unstuck?
One really good sticking point for us was just during COVID, learning. I spent a number of years in digital marketing for 20 years, and as a result of being in the time frame, I've had to learn how to pivot, how to shake and move. And during COVID, we focused really, really heavily on SEO, and then I started focusing a little bit more on artificial intelligence because I've been using these tools for a number of years. So I started, pivoting into using AI for content creation, for keyword research, for, looking at sentiment, just analyzing anything and everything that you could as it relates to traffic and digital marketing. So I've made a massive pivot towards looking at AI and how do I use that for every single thing that we do? Because a lot of times people, when they think about AI, they think that it's going to take jobs or it's going to take things away. But I tell people, it's really like putting a rocket ship on your back.
Yeah.
Getting 10 times the amount of work done. As long as you can help navigate that rocket ship and point it in the right direction, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think AI, for what you're talking about, is a great tool. I kind of use AI as for content for sure, but tell me with content, but also help me generate ideas and help me almost think about things, almost using it as like a business partner in a way, almost like another person. And I think it's a great tool. But Think Community, we talk a lot about AI, and still there's a lot of people who aren't familiar with it or playing around with it. And I would really encourage everybody to spend at least 2 minutes on maybe ChatGPT or Jasper or something, or watch some YouTube videos just to kind of get yourself familiar. All right, thanks for that, Brett. So let's talk about artificial intelligence a little bit. There's a lot of talk right now. I think there's some universities that are more open to using AI with their students than others. What are your thoughts on AI and how it's going to affect let's just start with on a university level and grow from there.
Yeah, I think it's presenting itself with a pretty big problem and a challenge to universities because it's so easy to write content. But I think if you're not driving the AI to write really, really good content, you can tell that it's been created by AI. And the weird thing too is when you look at tools like GPT, OpenAI's, their platform, or you look at Jasper, or you look at, my favorite is Claude.ai. Great tool. I love it because you can analyze a tremendous amount of data in a very short period of time through attachments. It's harder to do that with OpenAI's tools, but like tools like that, they will analyze the content that even they're creating, and sometimes they don't even know that they created that content. It is really, really interesting to see. So I could see how a university would say, hey, we're having students create work, and they're doing it in a way that's, they're using the AI to create it. I think you could use AI very creatively, like in relation to colleges. So when I wrote my dissertation to get my doctorate in February of this year, I used AI very heavily to create information and collect content. And I utilized tools like Perplexity.ai, which is another very good AI tool that will help you get data where they give citations for where everything came from. So it's very, very good tool. I was able to collect just gobs and gobs and gobs of data so that I could use it for studies to show the efficiencies of using multiple forms of digital marketing to drive laser traffic to your website. So in that fashion, it helped me with the data collection process. It helped me put everything together. I went through and created everything that I had, people helped me looking at editing, and I used a lot of different resources, and I looked at it from a business standpoint. how do I create this 120-page document in a way that's efficient, my words? I'm also seeing people who are doing things as simple as like taking and doing video interviews with people, and they're spending hours and hours talking about things. And then they take that video and they transcribe it into text. And then they use the text, and then they either rewrite the content from that, or they use AI to rewrite the transcription in relation to what they talked about. So now you're using AI and you're driving the conversation with AI out of your own words. And when you're doing it through audio or through audio and video, and now you're letting the tool speak your own words. So it can be used, in my opinion, very, very efficiently and ethically to write content. You just have to be very specific in terms of how you're using the tools, why you're using the tools. Because, I could literally go out if I had the tools now from when I was getting my MBA 20 years ago. Holy cow.
Yeah.
You can create content. Yesterday, just as a point of reference, this weekend, I created 200 pieces of content for my blog. 200.
How'd you do it?
On a weekend with AI.
How? Tell me the Think Community the process.
So the process in a nutshell is there's different tools that you can use. There's like things like Sheets GPT, which is a plugin that you can use, or an extension within Google Sheets. You literally can go into that tool and create a naming convention that says, I need you to do XYZ in terms of creating titles and descriptions for the content. You can do 100 literally titles for articles in a period of, let's say, maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Yeah. And it all depends on how the tool is interacting with the API with GPT, with Chat GPT. So that's one way that you can do it. There, you would mention Jasper. There's other tools. There's a tool out now that is a pretty good one. It's called autoblogging.ai. It's a good tool for creating content en masse. I like it. My favorite tool right now is called machined.ai. And the reason it is my favorite is you can plug it in. And when you do research to figure out how you become a topical authority, you have to know who's searching for what, and then what are all the variations for keywords that people are searching for. So if you're looking for business coach, you might notice that that's the target keyword, but then there's like strategic business coach and all those other variations. It may be 50 variations of that one phrase. So now you have to write content for every single one of those phrases.
Yeah.
And that tool will go in and help you find, you'll give it the main phrases, and then it'll go and create another 30 phrases. And then it'll help you create content with AI based on your sentiment. You want it to be friendly. You want it to be professional, joking. And then you can either use GPT 3.5 Turbo, which gives you more content faster, or you can use GPT 4, which will give you content slower, but there's more perplexity to what it outputs. Yeah. And then the last piece with this tool, what I love about it is you basically give it access to your blog and through WordPress, and then you can upload the content that you just created into your blog in draft form. So I literally used that tool to create 200 pieces of content. It took me less than 3 hours, and I had 200 pieces on my site. Now I get to go through and review every piece of content on the site, push it all through tools like Grammarly or Quillbot. Quillbot's my favorite. Grammarly is pretty good for checking for grammar, but Quillbot is better in my opinion in that you can do a whole document in terms of fixing it with one push of a button. Yeah. Versus Grammarly, you're going to bang your head. You're going to hit it 36 times to correct all the errors. So then you can use Quillbot or Grammarly to correct the information. And then now you got that content onto your website. One other good tip, if you want to be able to auto optimize the titles and descriptions, here's another massive time saver. Use something like SEO Press. They have a WordPress plugin. That tool costs $100 a year. What I loved is I was literally able to create 200 posts from 200 keywords, do the transition, put them up to the site, and as they were getting put onto the site as drafts, the tool was automatically creating titles and descriptions for every single post that I put up to the site. For me to do 200 posts, that would have probably taken me back in the days before AI. It would have taken me a week. Yeah. To just sit and just grinding through where I'm just like grinding. Now I'm like, holy crap. I just went in and used a tool. And then if you want to take it a step further, there's another tool called it's Press. I think it's man, it's another, it'll come to me in a second. It's another tool that sounds very similar. Instead of SEO Press, I think it's called like Schedule Press. And it's another tool that will enable you to go into your post and strategically tell WordPress when you want them to be posted. So like what we just talked about now is just complete soup to nuts in terms of creating content, to where every single, and I'm actually spending this last week, I spent probably about 40 hours looking at the strategy, developing it, writing it down, giving it to my team so that I can take that for every one of my clients and build content at scale. So there's a tremendous amount that you can do with AI if you're doing it right. If you go with what the first variations of content and you're not using the best tools, that content may not sound really well. But here's the kicker. If you provide value to users, keep that in mind. Always provide value to users who read your content. If you do that, Google's going to love your content. Yeah. And they don't care if it's AI or not. Do you provide?
You know, it's interesting. That was like a master's class. I appreciate it. That was great, Brett. I appreciate that download. You know, I'm curious to see where, you know, because a lot of the younger generation know how to use these tools like you're talking about very fluidly. But I almost think that I personally would love to see colleges move to teaching them about AI, how to use AI, because it is a big part of the future. But then the real grades come from, now you got to present it to the class. Now you have to facilitate discussion. Because whatever AI creates, that's fine. Learn how to use the technology. Now extract the information, know how to get a conversation going, be educated in the contents, and teach the skills of communicating and getting people to speak and facilitating discussion. So to me, I think I'm hoping that schools and universities move in that direction, because I think it's going to be really, really important. Anyway, let's talk more about you. You know, improving your traffic and your and revenue is what you're all about, and helping businesses increase revenue. Everything you just talked about is a very value add content driven, which, you know, attracts clients to you. And so talk a little bit about, we talked about AI. Talk a little bit now, as we reverse engineer your helping business to increase revenues through digital marketing, SEO, and artificial intelligence. We talked a little about AI. Now let's talk about, go to the beginning. We'll talk about the middle in a bit. Increasing revenue. How do we increase revenue using the digital marketing and SEO that you're talking about?
So you have to look at the end in mind. So I always tell people, look at what your conversion is and then define that clearly, and then define the things that get to that. So we work backwards. So if your conversion would be getting a new client as a business coach, you're wanting them to pick up the phone, fill out a form, go and watch a webinar or whatever. You clearly define what those objectives are. And then you use the AI to start looking and analyzing, okay, who would want to do that? Who is going to want to use someone as a business coach? Is it broken down by niche? Okay, then you take that data. And then you look at, okay, well, what kind of keywords to describe what that niche is? You can use the AI, or you can use, you know, tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs to go and pull that data. And then it'll show you, here's how people search at what frequency around the world. Now you know what they're searching for. And then you can say, okay, if a person searches for this in relation to a business coach, maybe it is a business coach with mindset, and maybe it has nothing to do with sales. Maybe it's just opening up your mindset for becoming a greater person as a human being, or a husband or father, or whatever. There's a niche within a niche. And then we have to come up with, how do you create content to fill that void? And then now you know, hey, I have a person who's looking for a business coach who is looking to have greater self-awareness, and they need to look at these 6 tactics or these 20 tactics. And then you can define all those 20 tactics, and then you can create content that is going to be wrapped around every single one of those tactics. Yeah. And then you use that on your website, you use it on your podcast. I actually just had an interview or a call with a customer just 5 minutes ago. And we were getting off that call, and one of the big questions that we were talking about is, okay, how do we lead more sales? How are we getting more growth? Because it's a product that helps decrease inflammation in your entire body. And I said, hey, we just literally created 100 pieces of content in 2 months for your site. It's our goal now to have you review that content as quickly as possible. Give us feedback. Let us get it promoted out to your website. Now your website's going to have a lot more exposure. I said there's other tools that I found I found a YouTube importer tool that will enable you to take every video that you put onto YouTube and import it as a blog post on your site. It's beautiful. It saves you a ton of time. And that tool alone, I was telling the client, we can take that tool and take all the content that you created, and then we took text-based content and converted it into videos and had the customer actually do the speaking where they're asking questions about things related to inflammation. So now the client has all this content on the website. They've got all this content on their YouTube channel, and now they're going to be taking that content and promoting it through tools like repurpose.io, spectacular social media tool that automates the process to an extent of distributing your content to multiple platforms on the internet. So now we're able to show that client, you've got content on the site, you've got content on your YouTube channel, now you got content across all of your social accounts. So one video turns into 6 pieces of content. So
right. It's great. I love it. I love it. All right, let's do a quick speed round, Brett. A book or a TED Talk or an article that's had the biggest impact on you?
I think a TED Talk. Actually, a TED Talk would be, and I know this, I'm not trying to sound vain, but my own TED Talk. I did a TEDx in Delaware. Okay. The reason I say this is it was based on resiliency. Now, I've gone through, a tremendous amount in the last 5 years. I had cancer in my neck in 2019, thought I was going to die. And I found out that the skin cancer, when I first found it, it's just skin cancer, no big deal, but it actually was near a lymph node. And they thought that it was going to travel throughout my entire body, which led me to, I didn't know what was going to happen with my life. So me doing that TED Talk or that TEDx talk enabled me to be able to prepare myself and be able to look at how resilient I needed to be during that period of my life. So I was able to go through and tell my story about all the things that I went through. I had a brother die in 2020, my oldest of 5 kids. I had a mentor die a year later. With my business, I run 2 different consulting agencies. Just one of my businesses, because of COVID, I saw a loss in revenue of $1 million in 2 years. So I had a tremendous amount of things that I could have, been, oh my goodness, I'm going to just shut down life. I wouldn't have a reason if I wanted to go down that road, but I said, no, I'm not going to, I'm going to go in a completely different direction. So I was able to take a lot of those components and, that $1 million loss in revenue did not kill me. My businesses are flourishing. They're doing better now than they were prior to COVID. Things are bouncing back. So my story, I take a lot of pride in being able to tell people I've gone through a tremendous amount of heartache and I've had to build. This is why that gray right here that you're seeing in my beard, that literally came from 2019, 20, and 21.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing well and you're healthy. I'm sorry about your sibling. I'm a cancer survivor too, so maybe we'll have you back for another talk, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece of wisdom I've received. It's a great question. I think if I were to look at all the wisdom that I've had, it's just really looking at being able to look at your day and look at the blessings that you have for that day and be cognizant of those blessings and not take those for granted. And to know that you only have like the now. I look at the future and I have all these plans. My daughter is 14. My son is 10. I see all these things, but I know right now that I have to live in this moment and I have to impact people's lives to the best of my ability in the now and not for what I can do tomorrow, because tomorrow may not come. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Last question, finish this sentence. One thing everybody can do to tap into their own resilience is?
Self-awareness. I think that's the biggest piece. You have to know where you are, and you have to it's self-awareness and being able to detach yourself from your situation.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I have cancer. Okay, what do I do to help heal it, fix it? And then you start looking at, well, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a son. There's all these things, but I'm not going to let this thing beat me. So it was really a big thing about detaching yourself from the situation, looking at it holistically and saying, how do I wrap my brain around the positive aspects so I'm not caught up in that mindset of just fear, failure, potential death.
Yeah. All right, good. Think community. This has been a great show. Brad, I really appreciate your time and your energy, your stories. I always like to extract a couple of things from the show for the Think community. Think community, we talk a lot about AI, and Brett walked you through kind of a mini master's class of how he does what he does. We talk a lot about creating content, which is really, really important, because that's how you lead people. You bring value, you bring content, you give people access. But most importantly, Brett, what I'm taking from you also is just the power of resiliency. So I appreciate your stories, your time, your and everything that you shared today. Very grateful for that. Most importantly, I'm happy that you're healthy and you're doing well. Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you, Brett.
So my ideal client is just people who are looking to build their brand awareness online. That could be either for using organic search through Google. It could be looking at paid advertising, social media marketing, video. We do a lot of different things. A good client is somebody who is not afraid to take their brand to another level, to basically go from obscure, being in a place where you have not the brand awareness that you want, and being able to take that and explode that awareness on the internet by using digital marketing and AI. And if you want to get in contact with me, all you got to do is go to seooutsourcing.com. And there's a whole bunch of information about who we are, what we do. My team we have over 50 years of experience in digital marketing. I myself have over 40,000 hours of my trade. So there's not a lot of things that I have not seen monkey wrenches in the last 20, almost 21 years.
Yeah. Awesome. Brett, I appreciate it. Think community, if Brett can help you, please reach out. If I can help you, please reach out to jondwoskin.com. Brett, this was great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.